All right. So first topic, we have characteristics and applications of embedded systems. So first things first, we'll try to understand what embedded systems is all about. Okay. So as you can see, we have here the definition. Um, Before I show you the definition, as you can see in our slide, we have some pictures of where can you see embedded systems. Because actually, every day we are surrounded with we're surrounded by embedded systems, different embedded systems. Sa kitchen, in our living room, even in our bedroom, uh, or even up to your office or school. Embedded systems are everywhere, and actually, it's even in your pocket. um, um, hmm. Embedded system. So what qualifies an embedded system? Okay, paano siya natin ma-identify, or how can we identify whether it is an embedded system or not? All right. So as you can see, embedded system basically refers to specialized computer system that is part of a larger device designed to operate, or I mean to perform specific dedicated tasks. Okay, let's try to break down that definition into some pieces. Okay, first one is special. The word specialized. So specialized. When you say specialized, it is something a little bit or significantly different from the usual or from the common. Right. So we have our, for example, we have our laptops, we have our PCs. They are common already because they have a lot of they share a common thing, yeah, with each other. So when we say specialized computer system, it's not your ordinary computer system. So maybe it was miniaturized, simplified, optimized, or maybe it was added with some special features. Okay, so specialized, and the second thing is, as you can see, it is part of a larger device, normally embedded. So the word embedded, as the name implies, embedded. So that specialized computer system is embedded, maybe attached, or maybe um, included inside or mounted inside of that larger device. Okay, for example, we have um, your smart washing machine. Okay, so the embedded system itself is not the washing machine. Okay, so when you put something, may maybe a circuit or a circuit box inside that machine, and that circuit box enables the water machine, or water, the washing machine perform something that you have programmed it to do, or maybe in short, if that circuit box becomes programmable or configurable in a smart way, or in a an computerized way, so that could already be considered as an embedded system. So in short, uh, our machine becomes smarter because of that box. It's like you're putting a brain, embedding a brain into that machine. So anything that you include an embedded system becomes a smart device. Okay. So for example, we can call something a smart refrigerator if that refrigerator has an embedded system in it. Okay. Just like our smart TV. So smart TV because there's a specialized computer system embedded in it. Right. And right. So we have um another thing. Embedded systems are designed to perform specific dedicated tasks. So meaning we are our we don't just create embedded systems. They have a purpose. Okay, something that the existing systems might not able to do. Okay, or if you want to do better than the existing systems, then you dedicate that embedded system. You design that embedded system specifically for that task or for that certain target outcome. Okay, so specific. Unlike our computers, normally they have a lot of tasks to do. They have a lot of purpose, right? So embedded systems must specific po. And they have the following key features. Okay, I'm not sure why my phone is not charging. All right. So um I'm actually recording through my phone so since it has better resolution. Okay, so embedded systems have the following key features. Number one, the dedicated functionality, as mentioned. Number two, compact size. Okay, so in order for our embedded system to be embedded to a larger device, it must be portable. It must be small enough and lightweight enough, okay, to fit into that portion where we want to embed it. Okay, and of course, low power consumption. We don't want our embedded system to be power hungry, and especially if it's meant to be portable. So usually we use battery or some solar panel or some um, portable forms of power supply. Um, so we want our embedded systems to be as power efficient as possible or as energy efficient as possible. Okay. At the same time, it must be rugged. It must be reliable and stable. So it should be perform as expected. It should be able to perform as expected. And lastly, cost effective. So why bother investing on an embedded system if it costs way more than a normal computer does? Okay, so I hope na uh, um, we have captured the basic essence of embedded systems. Medyo mahirap mag pure English actually, but I'm trying. Okay, so let me know if there's something that I wasn't able to to explain enough. Right? So when I say embedded system, usually it is something that has the following key components. First, we have the user interface. As you can see, that's where we interact. So that's where we can, that's something we can touch, we can see, we can speak at or listen from. Okay? And the embedded system itself only provides the interface, not the actual device that will serve as the user interface, meaning mostly connections only or ports. Okay, so that not necessarily it has a microphone or it has a keypad, but at least it has the interface, it has the ports or modules that will that allow instant connection to those user interface technologies. Okay, so inside the embedded systems, we have both hardware and software. So hardware basically that's our computer, and then computer, and with the help of the software, we can accept input variables and come up with output variables. And since we have user interface, probably we can also have output user interface. And most embedded systems have a way to connect to other systems, maybe to get data or to transfer data to their to them. Okay, so uh, I mentioned already the hardware. Basically, that is composed of the computer. So when we say computer, doesn't have to have a mouse, a keyboard, a monitor, a printer, and so on. Basically, these are the four things that a computer must have, or a thing must have to be called a computer. So first one, we have the CPU, not the system unit. the CPU is a micro, it's a system on a chip, a very small microchip. Okay, and it has a memory, I/O interface, and the bus. Okay, and of course, part of the hardware is the power supply system. That may include the battery pack, and then possibly the hardware may consist of built-in sensors and actuators, but these are actually optional. Okay, so when it comes to software, most embedded systems actually have the firmware, but some have both firmware and software. So um, also at the same time, we have the RTOS, or the real-time operating system, because embedded systems actually are intended, or ideally intended, to provide real-time functions, or to perform in real time. Okay, so that's why we should make use of an RTOS. And additionally, in our hardware, we have input devices and output devices, or our input data and output data. So when we say inputs and outputs, we refer both to the devices and the data. And one more thing, we have communication peripherals. So not necessarily we have the communication device built in our embedded system, but at least it should have the peripherals, or at least the ports or the modules, like the Wi-Fi module, so that it is allowed to communicate to another system or to a server, for instance, using that module. Okay, so these are some of the key components of an embedded systems. In more complex systems, of course, we have more other components. Okay, so speaking of CPU, our CPU could be inside of a microprocessor or a microcontroller. So embedded systems, or one common way to classify embedded systems is in terms of the CPU, or the computer used, whether the computer is in the form of a microprocessor or a microcontroller. So let's see if uh, okay, let's try to understand these two. So when we say microprocessor, or embedded systems that make use of microprocessors, are actually those that need a general purpose CPU. So general purpose meaning um, normally it can do more than just one task, or it has some some degree of multitasking. Okay, but not as much as what our normal PC does, or our laptop does. Okay, so meaning when we say multitasking, it captures data from sensors or from the user. At the same time, it communicates with other systems or with an app, things like that. So uh, a little bit of multitasking, we use microprocessor based in embedded systems. Okay, so as we let's continue with the definition. Microprocessor, general purpose CPU on a single chip, usually paired with external memory and peripherals. Okay, so we have the CPU and then the external memory, especially the RAM, and some peripherals like additional registers and timers and so on. Okay, so microprocessors are actually powerful, but um, there there is a challenge when it comes to supporting hardware to function. Okay, unlike microcontrollers, which are more compact, because the CPU already has built-in memory inside, or there's already a built-in memory device along with the CPU. So unlike microprocessors, we have a CPU and then a memory device. So microcontroller, inside that chip, we already have both the CPU and the memory, as well as some I/O ports built in, especially in the form of our pins, IC pins. Okay, so it's like a miniaturized computer because miniaturized um, it's like one slice of a computer. Pinaliit siya because it's intended only for one specific task, one or maybe two. Okay, and as you can see, microcontrollers are designed for control oriented embedded tasks. Okay, so we want to control something like a motor or a linear actuator. So um, usually those applications require real time, a more direct interface between the computer and the actuator or the output device. Okay, so by the way, microprocessors, commonly we have AMD and Intel, and in some development boards like the Raspberry Pi, we have the Broadcom, and some other um, similar boards we have STM32 Cortex. When it comes to microcontroller, the most common that we have right now are the 80 mega, especially 328P, which is used in Arduino microcontroller boards. Also, we have the ESP boards. I mean ESP microcontrollers, especially ESP32, ESP 8266, which are used in Node MCU boards. Okay, so um, in addition lang, Raspberry Pi Pico is not a microprocessor board. Instead, it's already a microcontroller board, similar to Arduino Nano. Okay, side note lang. Right? Take note that many embedded systems are real-time systems, meaning they must respond to inputs immediately. As what I mentioned earlier, embedded systems, one distinguishing factor or property of an embedded system is that it is meant to function in real time. Okay, especially within a guaranteed time frame, if not real time. So there are two types of real time systems. We have the hard time and the soft time. So hard time systems, those that are that must always meet the deadlines, such as we have the anti-lock braking system, air traffic control systems, missile guiding systems. So in other words, they should not miss or they should not they should not miss the deadline. When we say fire, it should fire. When we once we push the button, it will react instantly and achieve the desired outcome. Okay, real time. As you push the button, as you give your command, it should perform that function right away. Unlike soft time systems, it's okay. It's okay to have some delays, but of course, the more the delay, the more degraded the performance becomes. Okay, so such as our video streaming in smart TVs, di ba? Okay lang, there are times that our smart TVs have experienced some delay, but it's tolerable. But if it becomes more often or more, if the delay becomes longer, so our viewing experience is affected already. Okay, and then similarly, we have our smart thermostat, data acquisition systems. These things may experience some delay, but it's okay as long as they don't occur more often or in a great extent. Okay? Ayan. So, natapos din. So, that's our first part. So far, kinakaya pa naman. So far, nakakapag-English pa naman. I hope you can bear with me. So, by the way, this webinar, in this webinar, we have 4 parts. And in each part, we have a quiz and an evaluation form to be filled out by you in, in order to get or to qualify for our e-certificates. So, um, diba, we have four evaluation forms. So regarding the quiz, you only have in each quiz we have three questions. All in all, we have 12 questions for the entire webinar, and you only have to score at least an 8 all in all to qualify for the e-certificate. Okay, so kindly scan the QR code or take a screenshot of this slide. And kung hindi kaya ng QR code, you can manually type the link as shown here. All right, and as you do that, as you comply to this, as you fill out the form, you can actually watch this video in addition to what I've just mentioned.